Welcome to Grant Writing Made Clear. The truth is, the grant writing process isn't always clear, but with the right guidance, proven actionable strategies, and expert insights, the process becomes easier, simpler, and yes, clearer. I am Dr. Trenette, your host of Grant Writing Made Clear, and a former nonprofit president turned distinguished professor and behavioral scientist with 2 decades of grant writing experience. I remember what it was like to be a busy nonprofit leader with little time but big financial sustainability concerns. Over the years, I have transformed my skills from securing $1,000 foundation grants to winning multi-million-dollar federal grants. I created this podcast in response to the grant writing coaching requests I've received from nonprofit leaders, entrepreneurs, and professors over the years. Join me each week as I reveal insider strategies and share key lessons that turn wishful thinking into winning applications. Pull up a seat and get ready to be inspired, empowered, and transformed. Whether you're a beginner or a pro looking to sharpen your skills and create a life you love, you're in the right place, my friend. Let's get started. Welcome back to Grant Writing Made Clear, where we navigate the complex world of funding together because your growth and impact are my purpose. I am your host, Dr. Trenette, and today we're diving into how to maintain research momentum when your resources are limited. You know, when the money is tight, your team is stretched thin, and time feels like a luxury item that no one put in the budget. In our last episode, we talked about building research collectives, those long term communities that help you weather the storms. Well, today we're getting even more personal and practical than last week. Let's face it, funding gaps happen. And if your ear is to the door, like many of ours, you know that we are in uncertain funding times. And I want you to know that if a funding gap were to happen, that those are not failures, those are seasons. And like any season, they require different strategies. So, in today's episode, I'm sharing 6 strategies and a bonus mindset shift to help you keep moving when things feel stuck. And if you want even more tools to help you implement these momentum ideas, I have created a free resource just for you. It's titled Maintaining Momentum 7 Strategies to Sustain Your Research with Limited Resources. You'll find the link to this freebie in the show notes. Grab it because it is packed with templates, prompts, and practical steps that you can use right away. I think it's going to be a goodie. Okay, so again, today we're talking about how to achieve momentum and then how to maintain momentum, especially in times like these that seem uncertain, that feels a bit shaky. I want us to start with our mindset because how we think shapes how we behave, right? And so when the money runs out, if it were to run out, or if it doesn't come through, you've submitted a grant proposal and you're hoping that you are awarded the grant, but you don't get it. Or maybe you have a grant and it's terminated. It's easy to spiral into self doubt. But I want to reframe this experience by suggesting to you that this season, if it occurs for you, is not a setback. I want to say that again. This season, if it occurs for you, is not a setback. So again, we know we're in difficult times. For a lot of us at some point, funding will not look the way that it looked a few years ago, right? And I want you to know that if this is your story or it becomes part of your story, that these experiences are not a verdict on your worth. They're not the end of your career. They're simply an opportunity to transition, and transitions can be powerful. Okay, so now that we've talked about the mindset, because the mindset again impacts how you feel, it impacts how you behave, we are now prepared to dive into the strategies for achieving and maintaining momentum. So let's start with the first strategy, research phasing. So, what I want you to do is think about your projects, and maybe you have a large project because oftentimes many of us are ambitious. And if anything, you probably hear from people that your aims are too ambitious, right? They are not feasible, they're not realistic given the funding that you are applying for, maybe given the timeline that you have. So, oftentimes, many of us are ambitious and we have these large projects in mind. What you can do if you are trying to maintain momentum or achieve momentum during a lead season is break your project into smaller, high impact components so that you can continue to make progress even if you're not conducting the full project. So, for example, if you're starting to think about how you can break your project into smaller components, you may ask yourself, what is essential to preserve right now? What's essential to preserve right now? You may ask yourself also, what can be paused until later? And then you may also think about what will help me maintain my relationships. So, those are some of the questions you want to ask as you start thinking about breaking your larger project into smaller components. I once watched a colleague pivot beautifully. Her full mixed methods project was not funded. So she chose to focus on one component of the larger study, and that was the qualitative phase, which was easier to fund, and she was able to do the interviews herself. She conducted the interviews, and because of that, she was able to keep her work alive. No, she did not do the full mixed method study. She only did part of the study, but she was able to keep her work alive, which gave her some data for the next proposal. So, one of our strategies for achieving momentum and maintaining momentum during these leaner seasons, if that becomes your story, I'm not speaking that into existence for you. I'm saying if that becomes your story, that one strategy is research phasing. That is breaking your larger study into smaller, high impact components. And so in the freebie, I walk you through creating a minimum viable research plan, something you can start now with the resources you do have. I don't want you all to let perfection or having to do it all block your progress. A lot of times our mantra is all or nothing, right? All or nothing. I either do all of it or I do none of it. And that is not the strategy in a lean season. In a lean season, the strategy is all or something, right? So either I'm able to do it all because I received a large grant or because I collaborated with others to help me receive a large grant. And if not, I'm going to do something though, right? I'm not going to sit and wait and hope that this season passes while I do nothing. I'm going to do something. And what is that? That's research phasing. That's research phasing where I do some part of a larger project. Strategy two is thinking about students. Students can be good colleagues, and sometimes we see them as just extra hands, and we only use them for support tasks, but they also oftentimes have fresh perspectives. And so I want you to think about how you can incorporate your students into your larger vision for your work. And so I in the freebie, I have a section called Student Quick Start where I provide templates to onboard students as co-creators and not simply extra hands. So this is seeing your students as partners in the process, just as you would see your community members as partners in the process. This is another strategy to use in a lean season. Okay, strategy number three. I hope you all have your pen and paper or your favorite app. You all know I use Journey as my app for taking notes. Okay, strategy number three is repurpose what you already have. So many of us, I'll just ask a question. Raise your hands if you have data sets just sitting on your hard drive, sitting on a cloud database. Raise your hand. Okay. Yep. Same here. My hands are up as well. Secondary data analysis can be your best friend during lean times. So I want you to dig into what you already have, that data set that you have not really published off of. I want you to go back and look at your code book, ask new questions, collaborate with someone who sees things differently, who may be able to help you conceptualize new manuscripts to get out the door, new grant proposals to get out the door. Maybe this is someone from a different discipline who, again, may come with fresh perspectives. So I want you to use data sets that you already have. Now, some of you may be more junior and you may say, hey, I don't have any data. And that's okay too. I've been there before. And so if you are truly starting from scratch, there are amazing public data sets out there. You might have to dig a bit to find them depending on your research area, but there are good data sets out there. Join the new free Grant Writing Made Clear private Facebook group. Post a question in there. Ask people, hey, do you know of any data sets that focus on this particular area? And we will respond and try to help you find a data set. That's the purpose of the group, is to build community, is to build support, is to network. So make sure you join the group, ask your questions. Also in the freebie, you'll find a worksheet. You'll find a worksheet to map what data you already have and how to use it to support your next publication or grant. Okay, strategy number 4, strategic short-term collaborations. They could be short-term or they could be longer term. So these may or may not be collectives, right? We talked about collectives last week, but they are indeed partnerships capable of permitting quick wins. And so maybe you have data, but you need help analyzing the data. Or maybe someone has funding but no time to write. You want to partner with other people to be productive. The way you do that is by networking. The way you do that is by talking and reaching out. So now it's not the time to be shy. Now it's the time to reach across the aisle. It is to knock on doors. It is to cold email people, warm email people, and create new relationships. One model that you can consider as you think about these partnerships is the rotating leadership model. A small group of researchers take turns leading based on who has resources at the time. And so, if you want to try this collaboration idea, start with a 90-day collaboration plan. Inside the freebie, you'll find a micro collaboration agreement template to help you outline contributions to prevent misunderstandings. Okay, strategy number 5, partner with practice-based organizations. Community partners often have more resources than you may think. Maybe not funding, but they have tons of resources. And so I mentioned to you all before that we want to make bridges. We want to create bridges and we want to partner with practice-based community organizations. When your research question or your research methods can meet their mission, that's where the magic happens between academic and community partnerships. So in the freebie that I developed, right, the Momentum freebie, I include a sample outreach email you can customize and send this very week to begin reaching out to organizations. You can start with an organization that you admire, and I think you might be surprised by how quickly a collaboration forms. So we want to partner with community organizations. We want to create bridges. And I really believe that we are better together, that we all have different strengths, different experiences, and together we can really create something magical and do really good work. Strategy 6 is centering around innovations. Constraints can breed innovation. They push us to ask, is there a different way of doing this? Is there a better way? I've seen in lean times that people have found better ways to do things they've been doing for years, more efficient ways. And so maybe for some people, it was going from paper surveys to Qualtrics, right? Or RedCap. Maybe it was, for some people, it was going from coding qualitative data by hand to using AI to code qualitative data. I'm not suggesting that any one way is better than the other. Only you can decide what's better. Only you and your partners can make that decision. I'm just saying that let's not consider periods that are leaner as the end all be all. right? That we can be innovative during these times. Maybe you switch from Excel or whatever you're using for project manager to tools like Slack and Asana. Maybe you automate scheduling or email reminders. Maybe you map out your workflow using some new tool. In the freebie that I've created, you'll find a tech tools checklist to help you choose where to start. But I want us to know that even in lean times, we can be innovative. It can push us to be innovative. And then this last strategy is a bonus strategy, and it's really for you. It's for you because you are the most important resource your research has. You are the most important resource your program has. Funding gaps don't just slow projects. Funding gaps can impact your confidence. It can impact your clarity, your energy. We have to take care of ourselves during these uncertain times. And so I want you to be mindful of how you're taking care of yourself. In the freebie, you'll find a section on wellness strategies, including how to build or join an accountability group. I've talked about that before, including the groups I've had over the years. In the freebie, we also talk about how to recover quickly from funding rejection. I just want you to remember that you don't have to go it alone. You don't have to go it alone, and you shouldn't, right? And one of the final things I want to talk about before we wrap up today is really around what progress looks like in this time. What progress looks like. Again, maybe right now you are in an amazing place, but maybe your friend is not. Maybe your colleague is not. And so I'm talking to people who are in a lean season or are thinking they may be headed towards a lean season given how things are changing. And I want you to release the pressure to perform at extremely high capacity when you may be running on backup power, right? Your funding may be running on backup power. Think about it like this. Have you ever had your phone at 5% battery with no charger in sight? I know I have. I have. And what do? You close all your apps, you dim the screen, and you switch to low power mode because you know you need to preserve what's essential until you can recharge. It's the same with your research. And to be clear, I am not suggesting that you underperform or neglect your responsibilities. I am suggesting that you be strategic with your time, with any funding that you do have, and with your focus. No, it's not the time to pressure yourself, to kick yourself. No, it's a time to protect your core work, to move deliberately and prepare for the next opportunity to plug in and refuel. Low power, if that is your story, does not mean you failed. It means you're wise enough to prioritize what matters most. It means you're still moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. We just want to move more intentionally. If you're between grants, your job is not to replicate peak productivity. It's to keep the core alive, maintain your relationships. If you have existing data, use your existing data, analyze it, write it up, get it out the door, build the next big idea, take some time to polish your vision of where you're headed and prep for what's next. Maybe that means training, going to some trainings in this time. So now's the time to keep the core alive. Now is the time to be thoughtful and intentional about your resources. Inside the freebie, there is a momentum inventory template, a place to track small tasks that still move the needle, even in lean times. These little wins can matter more than you think. So I want you to consider getting the freebie, the momentum freebie. Again, the link is in the show notes. I just want to remind you that some of the most groundbreaking research and resilient researchers emerge during seasons of scarcity. Because when the door closes, we build our own. And I know you can too. Whether you're flush with funding or navigating a dry spell, regardless of where you are, What I want you to be doing is preparing for what's ahead. I want you to remember that you are not stuck. You will not be stuck. You will not be stuck. You have options, you have community, and you have the ability to keep moving forward. One smart, intentional, purposeful step at a time. So your next step is what? To download the freebie you've heard me talk about today in the show notes. It's called Maintaining Momentum, 7 Strategies to Sustain Your Research with Limited Resources. It's free, it's practical, and it's designed to help you keep going starting today. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you. What's one momentum strategy you're going to try this month? What's one of the 7 we talked about today? What is one strategy? Send me a message or drop a comment in our Facebook group. I may even share your tip in a future episode. And as always, if this helps you, please share it with a colleague or student, anyone who you think might need it. Until next time, keep writing, keep connecting, and keep believing in the value of your work. The community needs you. We don't pivot our populations, we pivot our strategies. This is Grants Writing Made Clear. Talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to Grants Writing Made Clear. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration, confidence, and clear information that you can turn into action. Remember, you are not alone. There's a whole community here striving for the same impact. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a quick review to help more people find the show, and share this episode with others in your network. It really does make a difference. For more grants writing tips and resources, follow me on social media. Until next time, keep showing up, keep learning, and remain determined. I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye for now.